As dog owners, we're always striving to give our furry friends the absolute best, right?
Absolutely. It's a responsibility we take seriously.
And it goes so much deeper than just the basics. Making sure they have food and water and get those daily walks.
Right.
It's about their emotional well-being, too.
Their happiness.
Exactly, ensuring their happiness. And one of the things that can really impact a dog's happiness is, well, anxiety.
You hit the nail on the head.
You sent us some really incredible information on dog anxiety, a topic I think so many of us are concerned about.
It's definitely a topic that comes up a lot, and for good reason. As you mentioned, dogs can't exactly tell us what's going on in their heads.
Exactly. And that's why we're diving into this topic today.
Yeah, to really help owners understand and support their dogs.
So the mission of this deep dive is to really pull out those key nuggets of wisdom from all this research you've given us.
To break it down into actionable advice, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. We want to give you, the listener, a much clearer picture of what might be happening with your own dog and, most importantly, what you can do to help.
Because knowledge is power, especially when it comes to our furry friends.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Right off the bat, something that really struck me was this statistic. Apparently something like 73% of dogs exhibit at least one anxiety-related behavior.
Wow, that's a huge majority, isn't it?
It is. It's really eye-opening. I mean, it just goes to show you that, if you're struggling with this, you are definitely not alone.
Absolutely not. It's so common. And this is exactly why it's so important to really understand what we're even talking about when we say dog anxiety. What's at the core of it?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. So what exactly are we describing?
Well, at its simplest, dog anxiety is that uneasy feeling, the apprehension a dog experiences when they sense danger or a threat.
Oh, I see.
Now, the guide you shared brilliantly breaks this down into three main categories: fear, phobias, and then anxiety itself.
Okay, so there are these distinct categories, but they're all under the umbrella of anxiety.
Exactly. Think of them as variations on a theme.
Okay, I'm with you. Can you help us understand the nuances between these three? Like, what makes each one unique?
Certainly. Let's start with fear. Fear is like that immediate, instinctive gut reaction to a very present, very real threat.
Okay, so like a jump scare in a movie.
Yes, exactly. Like, imagine your dog suddenly comes across a snake during a walk. That startled reaction, that's pure fear.
Okay, I get that.
And as the guide points out, fear can actually be appropriate, even protective.
In what way?
Well, take fear aggression, for example. A dog might display aggression if someone they perceive as truly dangerous is approaching them or their family.
That makes sense. It's like a defense mechanism.
Precisely. But it becomes a problem when that fear response is triggered inappropriately.
Like when?
Like, for instance, if a dog reacts aggressively to a friendly stranger who's just trying to pet them.
Oh, so their fear response is out of proportion to the actual threat.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So fear is about something happening right now, an immediate threat. Where do phobias fit into all of this?
Phobias are a bit different. They are like these intense, irrational fears, but directed towards very specific things.
Specific things.
Yes, a classic example, and the guide highlights this, is noise phobias.
Noise phobias.
Right. So many dogs have a debilitating fear of fireworks, thunderstorms, any sudden loud noises.
I've seen that. Oh, man, those poor dogs.
It can be really tough for them. And what's striking about phobias is how extreme the reaction can be, often way out of proportion to the actual danger.
Yeah, I can only imagine the terror they must feel.
Exactly. So we have fear, which is immediate. We have phobias, which are very specific. And then we have anxiety itself.
Right, that third category.
Mm-hmm.
How is plain old anxiety different from reacting to a present danger or a specific fear?
Anxiety is more about the anticipation of something bad happening. So it's not necessarily a response to a threat that's right in front of them. It's more like a persistent worry or unease about what might occur.
Ah, okay, I see.
A perfect example, and the guide really emphasizes this, is separation anxiety.
Right, separation anxiety.
This is when a dog just freaks out when they're separated from their owner. regardless of how long the separation actually lasts.
Oh, that's so tough. So if we were to oversimplify things, fear is like an immediate right now reaction.
A phobia is a terror of a specific thing.
And anxiety is that what if feeling.
Yeah. You've got it. And especially that feeling of what if when it comes to being alone.
And just to reiterate, that 73% figure we mentioned earlier,
Right.
it really highlights that dealing with some form of anxiety in our dogs is, unfortunately, the norm for so many of us.
Yeah, it's something we need to be aware of.
So our dogs can't exactly tell us what's bothering them, right?
Sadly.
Which means we have to become experts at reading their body language and noticing any changes in their behavior.
It's like learning a whole new language.
Absolutely. So the guide you provided breaks these signs down into, like, physical symptoms and behavioral changes.
2 main categories.
Yeah. Let's start with those physical cues. What might we see in a dog that's feeling anxious?
Well, there are a number of common indicators. For example, you might notice their heart rate is elevated.
Like they just ran a marathon, even though they've been lounging on the couch all day.
Exactly. Or excessive panting, and not because it's hot or they've been exercising.
Okay, so panting, that's out of context.
Right. And you might even see drooling or trembling or shaking.
Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good.
And some dogs even start exhibiting what appear to be compulsive behaviors.
Compulsive behaviors, like what?
It can manifest in different ways. For instance, the guide talks about heavy panting during a thunderstorm, even if the room temperature is comfortable.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Or trembling when you're getting ready to leave the house.
They just know, don't they?
It's like they can sense that impending separation.
Yeah.
The guide also mentions compulsive paw licking as a potential sign. Now, obviously, some licking is normal. It's part of grooming.
Right, of course.
But if it becomes excessive, almost like an obsession,
Like they can't stop.
right, then it could be a sign of anxiety. And that trembling and shaking we talked about, you might see that in specific situations too.
Like what?
Like car rides, for instance. Or sometimes just being left alone can trigger it,
It's like their body is reacting to this perceived threat.
even if it's not actually present at that moment.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. So those are the physical signs to watch out for. What about changes in their behavior? What might we notice there?
Well, one of the most common behavioral shifts is excessive vocalization, specifically barking.
Okay, my dog barks at squirrels. The mailman. Pretty much anything that moves.
Right. But this isn't just your typical barking. We're talking about persistent, almost nonstop barking, and often accompanied by pacing back and forth.
So they're barking and pacing.
It's like they're trying to find a release for all that pent-up tension.
That's interesting. What about whining?
Whining can also be a sign, but you need to be careful there because whining is often a normal way for dogs to communicate.
Right, like if they want attention or a treat or to go outside.
Exactly. So you have to look at the context. If the whining is coupled with those other anxiety signs we talked about,
Like the pacing or trembling.
exactly, then it's more likely a sign of distress.
Okay. Now, this is where it gets tough because sometimes anxiety can lead to behaviors that are really challenging for us as owners,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Talking about destructive behavior.
Unfortunately, yes. Chewing on furniture, digging at the carpet, destroying stuff around the house.
Not ideal.
Not at all. And you often see this when they're left alone. It's like their way of coping with that overwhelming feeling.
I see.
And then, as we mentioned before, there's the pacing itself, that constant, restless, back and forth movement.
We're just kind of wandering aimlessly.
Exactly. That can definitely be a sign that they're feeling anxious and unable to settle down.
Okay, so it sounds like the key is to really know what's normal for your dog.
That's the most important thing. Because what might be an anxious behavior for one dog might be totally normal for another.
The guide emphasizes observing their typical state, their baseline, so to speak. Like, are their eyes usually relaxed and open? What's their normal posture? How do they usually hold their tail?
It's all about those subtle cues. And then, if you notice significant deviations from that baseline,
Especially when combined with other physical or behavioral signs.
right, then that's when you want to consider whether anxiety might be a factor.
It's like connecting the dots.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we've explored what dog anxiety is, the different types, and how common it is. We've even talked about how to spot it.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Now let's move on to the why. What actually triggers these anxious responses in our dogs? What sets them off?
Well, the guide outlines several common culprits, and, as we've already touched upon, separation anxiety is a big one.
Right, that distress they experience when they're separated from their favorite humans.
Exactly. And this can trigger all sorts of behaviors when they're home alone, like, destroying stuff,
Excessive barking.
even having accidents in the house.
Oh no. That's gotta be rough.
It is for both the dog and the owner, especially those who have demanding work schedules or need to travel frequently.
That's a real challenge.
Yeah.
What are some of the other common triggers?
Noise phobias are another very frequent one, and these can be really intense. We're talking about those extreme fear reactions to loud or unpredictable sounds.
Like, thunderstorms, fireworks, construction noises.
Exactly. Even things like vacuum cleaners or hair dryers.
It could be anything.
It really can, and it's heartbreaking to see them so terrified.
It is. So noise is a biggie, and then there's social anxiety, right?
Yeah, social anxiety. That's the anxiety that pops up in social situations.
Like when they're around unfamiliar people or other animals.
Exactly. And the guide dives into some of the potential causes. Sometimes it's linked to a lack of proper socialization during puppyhood.
So those crucial early weeks and months when they're learning about the world.
Precisely. Or maybe they've had a negative experience in the past, like a scary encounter with another dog.
Oh, that makes sense.
And of course, genetics can play a role too.
So some dogs are just naturally more prone to anxiety in social situations.
It seems that way. And this can show up as excessive barking or even aggression out of fear.
So they're lashing out because they're scared.
Yes. Or they might try to avoid social interactions altogether.
Just completely shut down.
Right. And it's not just about interactions with other beings, Changes in their environment can also trigger anxiety.
Oh, interesting. In what way?
Well, you see, dogs really thrive on routine and predictability.
Like knowing what to expect.
Exactly. So even a seemingly small change, like rearranging the furniture in your living room,
Oh, okay.
that can be stressful for them. And obviously bigger changes like moving to a new home
Oh, yeah.
or going through renovations.
Or if a family member moves in or out, whether it's a human or another pet.
Those can all be major stressors. And the reason is it disrupts that sense of security that comes from having a stable, predictable environment.
It's like pulling the rug out from under them.
Yeah, sort of.
Okay, so we've talked about the what and the why of dog anxiety. Now let's get to the part everyone is waiting for, the how. What can we actually do to help our anxious dogs? Because the guide offers some really interesting management strategies.
It does. And it's important to understand that effectively managing anxiety in dogs often requires a multi-pronged approach.
So not just one silver bullet.
Not usually, no. It's about combining different strategies and tailoring them to your dog's individual needs and triggers.
Okay, like a customized plan.
Exactly. And behavioral modification is often the cornerstone of any good management plan.
Behavioral modification.
Yeah, essentially working with your dog to change their responses to things that trigger their anxiety.
I see. So let's dive into those behavioral techniques. What are some of the go-to methods?
Well, the guide highlights two in particular: desensitization and counterconditioning.
Okay, two big words. Break those down for us.
Happy to. Desensitization is basically about gradually exposing your dog to their trigger.
Like the thing that sets off their anxiety.
Exactly. But you start at a very low intensity, so low that it doesn't actually provoke an anxious response.
Okay.
The idea is to slowly, very slowly, get them used to it in a totally safe and controlled way.
So it's like dipping their toes in the water, not throwing them in the deep end.
That's a great analogy. And you pair this gradual exposure with positive reinforcement.
Like giving them treats or praise when they stay calm.
You got it. The goal is to help them associate the trigger with something good, something positive.
So instead of trigger equals fear, it's more like...
Trigger equals yummy treats. Or trigger equals praise and petting.
I like it. Okay, so that's desensitization. What about counter-conditioning?
Counterconditioning is similar, but it's more about actively changing your dog's emotional response to the trigger.
So not just getting them used to it, but changing how they feel about it.
Exactly. And you do this by pairing the trigger with something they absolutely love, something super rewarding.
Give us an example.
Say your dog is terrified of thunder. Every single time they hear that rumble, you immediately give them a high-value treat.
Like the good stuff.
The very best. Or you could start a really fun game, something they go crazy for. And the goal here is to create a new positive association.
Oh, I get it. So instead of thunder equals panic, it becomes...
Thunder equals party time.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
But I'm guessing consistency is key here.
absolutely. You have to be consistent.
Okay, so we're talking about working directly with their behavior. And as you said, that's often the cornerstone of anxiety management. But what about their environment? Are there changes we can make to their immediate surroundings to make them feel more secure?
100%. Environmental management is huge.
Okay, good to know.
For dogs with separation anxiety, for instance, creating a designated safe space for them when you're not home can be incredibly helpful.
Oh, like a den.
Yeah, a den, a special spot that's just for them. You want to make it super comfy, maybe put in some familiar items that carry your scent.
Like an old t-shirt or something.
Exactly. You can also leave them engaging puzzle toys to keep them occupied. And having a consistent, predictable departure routine is really important.
So not making a big fuss when you leave.
Right, because sometimes that can actually ramp up their anxiety.
Okay, that's interesting. What about those dogs who suffer from noise phobias? What can we do for them, environment-wise?
Well, for noise-sensitive dogs, creating a soundproof haven for them can make a huge difference.
Soundproof.
Or as close to soundproof as you can get. Think like a room with thick blankets to muffle the sounds. You can also use a white noise machine to help mask those startling noises.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And there are also those special anxiety wraps, like the Thunder Shirt.
Right, those vests that apply gentle pressure.
Exactly. Some dogs find that really calming.
Okay. Now, what about their overall well-being? Things like, exercise and mental stimulation.
Oh, those are crucial, definitely.
In what way?
Well, regular physical activity helps them burn off excess energy, which can often contribute to anxious behaviors.
So a tired dog is a happy dog.
Often, yes. And mental stimulation is equally important. That can be anything from puzzle toys to scent work to training sessions to, interactive play.
Keeping their brains engaged.
Right. It helps them stay sharp and it can boost their confidence and resilience.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's some natural or over-the-counter remedies out there that people sometimes try. Does the guide mention any of those?
It does, and some owners do find them helpful as a complementary approach.
So in addition to other strategies.
Right. For example, there are calming supplements that contain things like L-theanine, tryptophan, or chamomile. I've heard of those. They can take the edge off for some dogs. And then there are those pheromone products, the ones that mimic the calming pheromones mother dogs produce.
Oh, right. Those come in diffusers and sprays, even collars, don't they?
They do. And as we discussed before, the pressure wraps can also provide that gentle, calming sensation. But it's really important to stress this. Always, always consult with your vet before you give your dog any new supplements or introduce anything new into their routine.
Absolutely. Better safe than sorry. And speaking of professionals, at what point should someone consider seeking professional help, like from a veterinary behaviorist, or even exploring the possibility of medication?
Well, if you're dealing with a really severe case of anxiety, or if you've been really consistent with implementing all these management strategies we talked about and you're just not seeing any improvement.
Like nothing seems to be working.
Right. Then it's definitely time to call on the experts. Veterinary behaviorists, certified dog trainers who specialize in anxiety, even your regular vet. They can all be invaluable resources.
Okay, so get a professional assessment and create a more targeted plan.
Exactly. And in some cases, medication might be necessary to manage those severe symptoms.
Like as part of a comprehensive approach.
Yes. There are anti-anxiety meds and also what are called SSRIs, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. These can really help reduce the intensity of their symptoms while you're working on those underlying behavioral issues.
But I'm guessing these should always be prescribed and supervised by a vet.
Of course, always.
Okay, good to know. Now, switching gears a bit, what about prevention? Can we do anything to help prevent anxiety from developing in the first place, especially in puppies?
Oh, prevention is huge, especially during puppyhood. Those early weeks and months are so critical.
Why?
Well, that's when socialization is key. And by socialization, I mean exposing your puppy to a wide range of experiences.
Like different people, other animals.
Different environments, sights, sounds, smells. You want them to experience as much as possible, in a positive and controlled way, of course.
So they don't get overwhelmed.
Exactly, because this helps them build confidence and become more resilient to potential stressors later in life.
So it's all about building that solid foundation early on.
Right. And beyond socialization, establishing consistent routines in their daily life can really help prevent anxiety.
So like having a predictable schedule for feeding, walks, playtime.
Exactly. That kind of predictability reduces stress. And clear boundaries are also really important. Yeah, like having clear rules and expectations and using positive reinforcement methods to teach them.
Ah, okay, so they know what's expected of them.
Exactly. And it builds trust. And just like with desensitization, gradually introducing them to potential triggers can help too.
So like short periods of alone time, different sounds, social situations.
And always pairing these experiences with positive reinforcement.
So they learn that these things aren't so scary after all.
Precisely.
Wow, this has been so informative. I feel like we've covered so much ground. So just to recap, it sounds like understanding the different types of anxiety,
Recognizing the signs.
identifying those triggers,
Yeah.
and then implementing a plan that combines behavioral techniques, environmental changes, and maybe even natural therapies or medication.
Don't forget about those professionals.
Right. Sometimes bringing in the experts is key.
It's all about having a comprehensive approach and being really patient and consistent.
And tailoring everything to your dog's individual needs.
Because each dog is different. What works for one might not work for another.
And if you're seeing signs of anxiety, even subtle ones, or if the things you're trying aren't helping, don't hesitate to reach out to your vet or a veterinary behaviorist for guidance.
Couldn't agree more. And I think it's important to remember that it's not just about addressing full-blown anxiety. Even being more in tune with those early warning signs, those subtle cues we discussed, that can make a world of difference for your dog's well-being and happiness in the long run.
Absolutely. So, to our listener, take a moment to reflect on your dog. Are there any behaviors you've noticed that might be signs of anxiety? Are there any potential triggers in their daily life that you might be overlooking?
Being proactive, even with seemingly minor things, can really enhance your dog's quality of life and strengthen that incredible bond you share.
And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.